and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, and as always, it's my delight and pleasure to be able to offer to my viewers a different take on so many subjects. And again, when I first started out my career in television, that's over 30 years ago, my singular focus was on money and all of the things that go with money handling, money management, building. But funny thing happened when I turned 65. And that is that I looked over my career, I looked over the good, the bad, the not so good, and what needed to change. And as a part of that searching and asking God to lead me, I began to look at doing things a little bit differently, still with my primary focus on going into your world and helping you to come into my world to understand so many of the challenges that are facing people in our country today. And mind you, this show goes all over the world, but I am speaking about the United States specifically, while recognizing that the subjects are commonly human issues. As a part of that, and I'm just rewinding some things so that you would get a perspective on what I'm doing and where I'm at, so as not to be confused. Some of you will understand it intuitively, others of you, I'm trying to give clarity. I began to recognize that money was only a part of the puzzle. Money, as the Bible says, answers all things. Didn't say the love of money. Money as a resource can answer all things. If you've got mental illness, you can get a therapist. If you're homeless, money will give you a place to live. It'll buy you food. It'll provide you with clothing. But what I discovered is that money did not handle the deeper things. Money does not handle dysfunctional relationships. Money does not address health issues, which is if you have cancer because you wouldn't stop smoking and you're looking at death, money cannot buy you additional time. So with that clarity and understanding, I began to change the focus of the show. And I brought two gentlemen to the table this past summer, Dr. Rick Howard, who's a naturopathic doctor who specializes in health wellness issues, and Elder Dennis Hatchett, who is the CEO of Embrace Ministries with headquarters in Cincinnati. And he brought a very dynamic, rather unconventional perspective on kingdom and life. And so today I'm going to be talking to him solo about his perspectives on a real sensitive subject. And that subject is intimacy, love, marriage, relationships. Why? Because most humans would love to be able to have a soulmate or someone who understands their deepest, innermost feelings, especially and particularly women. And there's been a lot about this. I mean, you can't be on Facebook or any of the social medias without being inundated with all kinds of stories, good, bad, and many times not very positive. So I wanted to bring him on for the next two shows to talk about this subject and to get his perspective. We're going to go deep. We're going to go deep. And the reason I say we're going to go deep is because this is something that I feel very strongly about. I am a single woman myself, a divorcee, which is just categorically, I'm single. And some of the challenges that we are facing as a society and how this dovetails into the kingdom philosophy that Elder Hatchett brings to the table. And he's going to give me some insights and clarity. Many of these things have never been shared on television, but they should be, because that's how important they are. So without further ado, and we're going to get right into this subject. Again, this is a two-part series. One part will air, and then the second part will air. And you'll know they're two different shows because I have on two different outfits, and so does he. But we're going to deal with part one for this show and part two for the next show. So here we go. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
I'm glad to have you here. It's so glad to be here.
Yes, yes.
To talk about this subject. Woo!
Yeah. When we talk about relationships, when you talk about intimacy, when you talk about marriage, it's usually a subject matter that's not discussed because most folks avoid the discussions because they're never really positive. They usually turn out to be arguments, debates, and people don't want to sit down and deal with it.
My God. So where do we want to begin on this huge subject?
Well, let's talk about that label of intimacy, because intimacy, to me, has gotten so watered down in its application, but so magnified in its presence that we as people, we avoid intimacy, not understanding that there's different dimensions of intimacy.
But let's talk about those different dimensions of intimacy that you've alluded to.
You have, first of all, you have your physical intimacy, which is the common intimacy that most people connect to.
Okay.
But you have interactive intimacy. And in interactive intimacy is that's shared with your confidant.
Okay.
That person that you can talk to about anything. You know, that individual that's in your life that, you know, when something goes wrong, when something goes awry, you can always pick up the phone and call them. That's an intimacy, to me, that's more valuable than the physical intimacy.
Oh, I definitely
because
would agree.
The physical intimacy is actually supposed to be the icing on the cake between two individuals
who are involved in interactive intimacy.
So
is it a necessity to have the physical?
No, the physical is a byproduct.
Okay.
The physical is a byproduct, and the physical should be the byproduct of a solidified relationship.
Okay.
Where you're now committed to each other, good, bad, and indifferent.
Okay.
And in a lot of instances, it gets lost because this society they just want interaction. They don't look at intimacy and interaction being separate. Intimacy and interaction are the same. Exactly.
With very troubling outcomes.
Absolutely. Devastating.
Devastating.
Because there's no consideration for feelings. People's the true heart thoughts are not considered, and how my behavior impacts you is not considered. The things that I do in my life and how they will impact you are not considered. The decisions that I make now and how they're going to evolve into whatever they're going to evolve into don't involve you. They don't include you. But now we're inclusive in this part called intimacy, where we're sharing this most intimate time and intimate exchanges, but we're not sharing in the responsibility that comes along with intimacy, because that's the reason that most people don't discuss intimacy, because they don't discuss the responsibility that goes along with intimacy.
Well, I think as we are going down this road, so many people are not interested in, particularly, and I'm not singling out young people, but I have had more than one discussion with young people about all I want to do is get it and gone. Yeah, they're not just the physical. They don't want to go deep. Just get it and gone.
They're in for the physical pleasure factor. They're not in for any long-term structure and organization where
How does that play out, though?
Well, you have to roll it back.
Okay, I'm rolling it back.
If you roll it back, and we go back 50 years when we were kids.
Okay.
And one of our parents went to work, made the bacon, mama was there, and we were having interactive time. There was always interactive time established. You could do anything you wanted to do all day, but at 6 o'clock, you better be sitting at this dinner table.
Right, for family time.
Absolutely. And when dad was at work and mama was at home and we were not in school, we had 3 o'clock was, well, lunchtime, but we had to sit
Campbell's
down.
chicken noodle soup.
But the TV had to be turned off, all the chores had to be done, things of that nature. None of those structural things are in place anymore because now both parents are at work. There's nobody having interactive time at home. So the children don't have a value for interactive time because there is no interactive time. And all it is about what they want to do. They want to play, they want to play, they want to play. So when they get grown, all they want to do is play. Exactly.
My God, you know what? I've never made that connection. This is a first. But I am prompted to think about, even with the media, when they show breakfast time, people are grabbing and running.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody in the household is grabbing and running out the door.
It has been the media influence, because the thing is, society is determining what our values are now. We're not determining values, society is. And now they put these pictures on TV to show you how to do breakfast.
Yeah.
And now they're creating the breakfast environment for you. So now, okay, we're going to be running to go do something. And then most people get up like they're running to go do something. And then after breakfast is over and they ain't got nothing to run and go do, they're like, okay, now what?
Now what do I do?
Exactly. And it's still not spending interactive time, because there's nothing being promoted or presented of interactive time. The family shows where they showed you the family sitting down and having dinner, the family sitting down and having lunch, and the family sitting down and interacting. They don't. All they show you is the drama of interaction on TV.
You know, that's so odd, because one of the things I will say to credit the European model is that's what they do. They do things, the family does come together. And they come to, all of them, they take their afternoon. And when they do their lunch or supper, they're all there. And they're talking about how the day has gone. And initially, when I had that experience, it was kind of irritating, because I was like, aren't you all supposed to be at work? And they said, well, we'll be there, but this is important for us. This is our family, la familia, as the Latinos say. But it's that family time. And they understood what was really important, which is that interactive intimacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is it too late? Can we rewind?
Oh, it's never too late. It's never
Okay.
too late. It's only a matter of redirecting. Because, you know, we talked about transformation.
Yes.
And it's nothing more than a transformation of where we are. Because if we're in that system where we've gotten to the place where we now value work more than we do family, we need to make the adjustments and say, okay, now how do we bring this thing in balance?
Okay.
Because we don't live to work, we work to live.
To live.
So
That is worth repeating.
Oh,
Would
yeah,
you say
we don't.
that again?
Yes,
for
we
the
don't.
benefit
We
of
don't
our
work
audience?
to live. We live to work. Well, depending on where you at, because if we're working to live, then our primary goal is home. But if we're living to work, then our primary goal is work. And if we make work the primary goal and the primary factor, then we're actually sacrificing everything of true value, because now we've put the greater value on work. And the commercial that we talked about, the breakfast, they're eating and running, that's an example of work being more important
Than family.
Exactly.
Well, I tell you, this is what I have learned, and it has come at a painful price for me. But the most powerful piece on this planet is the family. And if we don't get that right early, then when you get in your older years, this thing's gonna come back and bite you in your butt.
It's a mess.
It's a
waiting to happen.
mess.
That's a mess.
It's a
waiting to
mess.
happen.
Nobody, older people complain, my kids don't come by, I'm like, yeah, you were never there. And they are living the lives that they learned from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so you can go, and I'm saying this for the benefit of my Caucasian successful retirees. You go to Florida, it's there floating. You go to Florida and you see your families occasionally when they come down to do the beach thing. But is there a commitment for them to get you involved in their lives and help with decision making and actually be a part of that experience? And the answer for the most part is no. And I know it's the truth because I was at an event with morticians, and in Florida, they have the highest percent of unclaimed urns. People will not come and get the body. No. The cremains, they won't show up. They say we got a whole room full of bags of people where their families are like, I don't care what you do to them. I don't care what you do with them. And that's a painful, painful truth based upon the lack of interactive intimacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, the thing is, if we as a people don't come to recognize the fact that it's been watered down and it's been demoralized, it's been devalued, if we don't recognize that it's being lost, it will be lost if we don't grab a hold to it and redirect the energy to reestablish it so that the generation to come will have something to look forward to, and the generation that exists will have an alternative for where they are. And then this group of us that knows, now we can be more active in our interaction, because we as adults, we don't interact on an intimate level the way we used to, because we used to have, it didn't matter that, you know, I was married and you were single. You didn't have anything to do. Why don't you come over and we're gonna sit and play pinochle. We're gonna sit and
we're gonna play cards or do something. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But that interactive social time, that intimate time, is priceless. It is priceless. The fruit that comes from it is priceless. And the thing that we don't look at when we don't have that time, the other side and what doesn't come from it. Now we talk about loneliness. Now we talk about isolation. Now we talk about, now I feel something's wrong with me, and I'm judging my environment based on the lack of things as opposed to the wealth of things. And our wealth, true wealth, is in relationship.
I totally got it. I tell you, I got it. I got it. But it is in relationships with the family.
But I asked a question.
First.
When do we get beyond the stigmas of inappropriacy to get to relationship and to that intimacy of socialization? When do we get beyond the created fears? Because now, since intimacy and interaction have been reduced and eliminated in most cases, we're at a place where we're afraid to even venture out and try to do it because they might not understand what I'm trying to do, and they may take advantage of the fact, and they may not reciprocate what I'm trying to do, and they may take it somewhere that I'm not trying to take it. They might take it to that next level, which is the physical intimacy factor. Or they might even look at the interaction as leading to the physical.
That's the end game.
Exactly. There's no separation of understanding. I mean, separation of understanding, that's big. There's no separation of understanding that when we have socialistic intimacy, it's not because we're leading it anywhere. It's not because it's going anywhere. It's only because it serves a purpose all by itself. It does not need any icing on the cake. It does not need anything fed into it. No, it is what it is, because it serves the purpose of interaction, which gives us the opportunity to have somebody to vent to, which gives us an opportunity to say, okay, these are the troubles and the woes that I'm experiencing on today. And now you can get another individual's perspective on your woes of the day. And just that other perspective might be enough to shine a light to say, you know what, it really ain't that bad.
I totally agree with you.
But when you don't have that other perspective,
I totally agree.
You're stuck with the perspective that you have. And if you always evaluate your situation with the information that you have, you're always going to come up with the same result.
And you know what, I guess without opening up a can of worms, women have their girlfriends. And if they want to go, quote, intimate, they talk things over, they share situations, and their girlfriends many times trump their personal relationships with their mate.
Absolutely, absolutely,
How does that happen?
Well, you know, when you're with your mate, and in this time,
At this time in history.
we haven't established these social interactive skills. So since we haven't established these social interactive skills with the opposite sex,
Okay.
now when we're forced to be
Oh,
socially
God.
interactive, it's like, okay, I'm not comfortable. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can say that. But when you're with your girlfriend that you practice social interaction and intimacy
Regularly.
with, exactly, you're comfortable.
easy.
So now when you get together, you let your hair down and y'all just talk. But when you go back to him, now you got your hair pulled up and your
Makeup
walls are
on.
your walls are up and all your safeguards are in place and because I don't want to say this and I don't want to make him mad. I don't want to say something that he's not going to understand, and I don't want to try to seem like I'm smarter than him, and I don't want to offend him, and we're in a cage, and then we're in our cage.
Talk to me about
And then-
that perspective.
and
Is
then
a man
he's
in a cage?
I was going to say, then he's
In
in his
his
cage.
cage.
Exactly. Because he's in his cage because his cage is all about him. His cage is all about him. So now when you come into my cage and you're still in a cage, he's looking at you like, wait a minute. All you're supposed to be doing is what I want you to do. And then that's supposed to be the totality of relationship.
This is
You
misery.
come in, and I do what I tell you, and everything's fine.
And everything, and I'm so happy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
and you
when
better
you're
learn how to be happy.
exactly, but when you're not doing what I want you to do inside my cage, now you're disrupting my cage, and so now it's like the man cave. Get out.
Got it.
So then, where is the interactive, intimate time?
I'm trying to find a way of escape out of this so that we can give our viewers a level of hope, because I do believe this is what's really happening out here today.
It is. It is.
I mean, I cannot, and I say this because when people have their anniversaries and stuff and their marriage acknowledgments on social media, and he gushes about how wonderful she is and she gushes about how wonderful he is, and then when you see him in public and it's kind of different.
Yeah.
No, really.
Yeah.
Really. Which means, am I just looking at a screensaver?
Pretty much.
Why would you even go through all these plaudits about somebody and it's really not true, or maybe it's just their point of view?
Well, it is true to a certain point, but the thing is, it's just like you get this new car. And this new car, it's all shiny and it's clean.
God.
But then you get in it, it ain't got no air conditioning, it ain't got no power steering, and you got to roll the windows down. It's like, was it really all that it was cracked up to be? And then the answer is no, because a lot of times we're dealing with presentation.
Okay.
And it's all about the presentation.
Oh my God. You're
It doesn't
right.
have to be
No,
the
no,
reality.
No, you're absolutely right.
It's about
all
the presentation.
presentation.
When we're stuck in presentation, we don't concern ourselves with the content.
Okay.
We're just concerned with how it looks. And as long as it looks nice and all the lines are nice and cleanly cut and everything is, yeah.
Got that.
Exactly.
That.
It doesn't matter that when we have to turn the corner, we got to sit here and struggle with the steering wheel. And then when it gets hot, we got to roll the windows down because there's no air conditioning. None of those things matter because it still looks good.
The presentation.
It's still shiny, it's still clean, it still looks good. It looks like I have air conditioning because all I have to do is roll the windows up to give the look of air conditioning.
Right.
Now inside I'm cooking.
Right. Which brings up another point from my perspective, and that is that you really, and I take a completely open view about this because I have seen so much over the years, but you really don't know what's going on between two people. What they present on the outside and what goes on the inside of the house are two completely distinct dynamics.
Most cases that's true. You know, you do have those authentics that where the thing you see outside
is
is only a result of what's going on inside. But then you have those, well, let's use the church for the example. You go to church on Sunday and everybody's, hi, how
Hey,
you doing?
God
And we're
bless
just
you.
so
Oh,
loving
my
and we're
God,
just
yes.
so happy. And,
Yes,
and then you get in the car and the ride home is entirely different.
You're right.
Entirely different.
Right.
And the thing is, you meet them on the street. Entirely different interaction. But you see that same person in church, it's, hi, how
Hey,
you
yeah,
doing?
doing.
And see him on the street, it's like, do I know you?
Right. Right.
And that in itself identifies the fact that it's only presentation, it's not authentic. Because if it was
remember
authentic,
that term. It's only presentation.
absolutely, it's only presentation.
And presentation does not require interactive intimacy. It's just a snippet.
Exactly.
Click, click, camera.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Jesus referred to it that we end up polishing the outside of the cup while the inside of the cup is still full of dead man's bones.
Oh my God.
And the thing that we don't understand as people, if we can't live that we show, then what are we really doing? We're deceiving ourselves.
I think you hit on the point.
We're deceiving
which is
ourselves.
Self-deception.
And
the lack
it's
of
rampant.
awareness. You don't even know who you are.
But that's because we've allowed society
To
to establish our standards. They define the standard, and all the standard is what it looks like. It's never about the content. It's always about what it looks like, because just because you look the part, you can get the position because you look the part, not because you're smart and intelligent, not
Right.
because you're qualified,
Right.
but because you look the part. You can be conformed, you can be aligned. And in a lot of instances, that's why we sit at the table and we go for a job interview.
Yes.
And we sit here and we got all these credentials and we've got all this preparation, all this training and all this experience. And then this guy comes over here, Mr. Clean Cut Joe, comes over here, ain't even got a briefcase in his hand.
Right.
He's got a little folder with his resume in it. And he comes in and you got this portfolio over here.
Right, and he's
got this folder. And when he goes in for the interview, then you go in for the interview, he gets the job.
Right.
Why? Because he looks the part. And they're corporately looking for a look. So they've brainwashed society to believe that it's all about the look. It's all about the look. It's not about the content. Why? Because this person over here with the folder, with the resume in it, got the job. You over here with all this experience got nothing.
Right. Because
So
you didn't look the
You didn't look the part.
Right.
So now everything has been predicated on the look versus the content.
presentation.
So
Ugh.
now as long as you got now this look is now the person that's in charge causing all this dysfunction, and then you got somebody else that's coming along to run interference of the dysfunction, and they're all part of the group.
Right.
And if you're not part of the group, you're part of the problem. Why? Because you're there to make them look bad. You're there
Right.
to expose those things they really don't have, they really can't do, and they really not are, or really don't. The person that they're presenting themselves to be is not the person that stands
they
before
really
you.
are.
When you stand to be that person to expose them, you're the enemy. So then
I
all
know
of the
you're right.
all the
I
true
know you're
values,
right.
all the true values are now pushed to the side.
I know you're right, Elder Dennis, because in the coming out of the corporate world, one of the things that has always perplexed me is how did they hire this idiot? I mean, how did they hire this? And viewers, you know I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, come on now. I know you know I'm telling you the truth. Particularly you ladies who had to work under these people, maybe in a supportive capacity, administrative. You're like, he's a jerk. Who would want to do business with him? Or like the TV series Mad Men, where the guy that was the sales executive was an absolute jerk. Suave, all the above, but his core was just
Jacked up.
jacked up. And yet this was the image of success that was put out here.
Absolutely.
And his wife was okay with it because he provided her with the creature comforts, status, money. But she didn't have her husband because he was gone someplace forever.
Pretty much. And they're established
Oh, Dennis.
they've established this as being status quo. So now if this is status quo and this is what the system is showing forth as being the norm and the acceptability, now all of our people are running around trying to conform themselves to be accepted and to be acceptable. So now we in that chase to be accepted, we're losing sight and losing the essence of interactive social intimacy. Why? It serves no purpose, because all I need to do is look the part. I don't have to be socially sound.
I don't have to go deep with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't have to have any true intelligence
Content.
because they're going to hire somebody like you to do all the work, and then I get to take all the credit for it.
Yeah, you're right. Isn't that bizarre?
No, that's corporate America.
That's corporate America.
That's corporate
but
America.
That is the system that we're under today.
Absolutely.
So much so. I mean, the politics, which I believe totally come out of that mindset, you don't even know who your elected officials are. I don't even know if their wives know. I mean, you look at them and you just keep saying, quack, 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 quack. And it's not even party specific. It is a culture where I'm not willing to connect to you, and yet I'm willing to mandate how you live legislatively. I'm willing to do that, but I'm not really willing to get down and dirty with what this looks like.
Not at all. They're not even concerned about any of that.
They're just
doing a job.
They're just doing a job and waiting to get reelected and write me a check.
Exactly.
Write me a check.
Yep. And now that I got the position, I got the check. Now, do I do anything relative to all the promises that I made you to get here? I got to keep some of them to keep them happy.
Right.
And as long as I do some of them to keep them happy, yeah, right, exactly, because we're going to deal with the systematics of how do we make more money now that we make this money? How do we make more money?
And how do we keep that money train going?
Absolutely, absolutely,
Because
and their focus totally changes.
Yeah, it at the point you have the ability to print money, and dump stuff on people and extract through all the taxation venues. I mean, Americans think we're only getting whacked on our income tax, but our tax structure is so horrible. I mean, you pay marriage tax, you pay gas tax, you pay so many small chip-aways that they said 63% of your check is decimated on taxes.
Absolutely.
Real and your subliminal taxes that you pay every day, food tax, gas, everything. And there is no desire, I think, by the powers that be to even connect with us in an intimate way to find out, do you not understand your people are struggling?
No, we are the peasants that made them rich. And all they look at us as those people, again, they do the work, we take the credit and get the benefit for their work and labor. And that's all they look at. You're here to do a service.
Take care of me.
You're here to do a service for me.
Right.
And I'm going to give you a few giblets so you can go do what you do.
And a giblet is all it is.
Exactly.
A giblet is all it is.
And the thing is, the sad part is we as a people don't recognize it. Because it's modern day slavery.
It is. But it all comes down to that commonality of intimacy, which is the disconnecting of us from each other.
Absolutely.
Systematically disconnecting with the marketing piece underneath, the media machine, the print machine, and having people out here who are just vacuous. They're not even here. I mean, if you will look at people's eyes when you talk to them, oh my God, and I do all the time.
But they don't.
I know. I know. I'm like, is anybody home in there? Bing, bing.
They're trying to hide.
But how do you hide?
Well, if you don't have that interactive social time at home.
Yes.
When you go outside, you're not prepared for interactive social interaction because you don't have any interaction at home. So when you go outside of home, now you're in an environment you're not comfortable. So now I don't want to be exposed that I don't know and I don't have. So I just want to stay over here to myself, and I don't want to be exposed, because you already have your inferiority complex because of the lack of interaction, and you're left to your own devices at home. So you don't have any social interactive skills. You don't have any communication skills. You don't have the ability to express how you feel and what you think, because you never have anybody to talk to anyway. Why? Because there's never anybody there.
Right.
So now when you come in.
Would you also say, because I'm actually dealing with this on a one-on-one, my relationship with many people that were in my close circle has changed. And the reason being is because as we've gotten older, those habits and behaviors that I was okay with when they were younger, which is you don't know how to communicate, you're not willing to communicate, you're not willing to open up, and you just want to pull off of me. I mean, those are bloodsuckers, I guess you can call them.
Leeches.
You know, leeches, suckerfish. And it's not even deep information, it's just the energy.
Exactly.
The energy.
Exactly.
The energy. They just want to pull that energy to keep them afloat.
But you know, the energy is natural. It's innate in us to interact.
Right.
We were created for interaction.
Right.
So in the absence of true social intimacy and interaction, we start making up for it. We start overcompensating. And in that overcompensation, it still is focused on me.
Me.
It's not about an exchange, because we talk about relationship. Relationship, it is a common exchange.
Okay, that's important. A common exchange.
A common exchange. And what makes it
Viewers,
common?
did you all hear that? Relationship is a common exchange. Okay.
It being common, meaning you have a common understanding, I have a common understanding, and we come together to mesh our common understandings.
Okay.
So now if it's a common exchange, you have your differences, I have mine. Now let's exchange our differences so that we come to the place of understanding our differences. And then once we understand the differences, they might not be differences, because the thing is, you know what, that might work a little better over here, and you might incorporate some of those differences into your equation because it makes your equation function better, and they might incorporate some of yours into theirs, and it makes their system function better, and now you grow the appreciation one from another.
That is the kingdom model.
That's the kingdom mindset.
It
That
is.
is the kingdom mindset.
Nobody has it all.
Nobody.
I mean, nobody.
We all have been given a gift, and our gift will make room for us.
Yes.
But my gift added to your gift now
my
makes
God.
us gifted. But if I never add my gift to yours, and I never allow you to add your gift to mine, we stay in that boat where, okay, everything is fine in my cage.
In my cage.
Yeah, in my cage,
Yeah,
everything
don't come
is
in
fine.
here unless you're making me happy.
But then there's no room for anybody else. There's no room for nothing else, because you don't know how to bring anything in to incorporate it with yours, and you also don't know how to interfuse yours with anybody else's to improve their situation or circumstance. And all those things are established through socialistic intimacy. When we sit down and talk about the real issue, the real problem, the real thoughts, the real ideas, when we're not talking about what's real, we're just having superficial conversations like, well, did you see the bus that went down there? It was blue, wasn't it? And it was almost crowded too. They may need to put more buses in because they've got people standing up on the bus. And this is a nice day. The sun is shining. It's pretty. We don't. And we've had a conversation, but did we say anything?
Exactly. And you know what? What you just said is where most people are.
Absolutely.
I mean, the triviality of the communication is so annoying to me. I mean, annoying because I want to get into your world. I want to know how you're doing, how your family doing, how your children doing. What are some of the and it's just like, nope. How's the sun? Isn't it a beautiful day? And oh my God, you know, you got this outfit on. Or no, I'm like, are you serious? But I was told by a friend of mine that there's a subcategory of us, of which you fall into, and so does Dr. Rick, called higher order thinkers.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
They call them HOTS, higher order thinkers. Mm-hmm. And we're only a small segment of the population.
Absolutely.
And we're dangling in the wind. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I cannot breathe. Because the majority of people don't see it that way.
Mm-mm. They don't. And the thing is, it's been created for them not to see it. Because that was the purpose for technology.
Yeah, but can't they make a decision? And I'm not a good person to obviously speak on this because I don't see things like that. I don't. I do not see what most people see.
Exactly. Because you weren't brought up in the window that most people were brought up in.
I don't look at that like that. So it's hard for me to understand where that's coming from, and it results in my being incredibly annoyed a lot and not wanting to engage in communication because it's vacuous. There's nobody home.
Exactly. There is no communication.
Hello.
You have conversations. There is no communication.
There's conversation, but you're right, there's no communication.
There's no exchange of ideas.
Now, without the communication, how do we move forward in the area of intimacy?
We don't.
Which is so important for kingdom. You can't talk about kingdom when people are not connected.
You know what? You can't have intimacy without communication. And the thing is, let's even talk about the physical intimacy. Mm-hmm. Physical intimacy is still communication. It's nonverbal communication.
But nonetheless,
it's still communication. So when you come over here to socialistic intimacy, you can't have it without communication. And now that you've taken the physical element out, the only thing you're left with is the verbal. So there has to be some expression, but then when you have these individuals that have been technologically challenged because they've been given technology and they watch TV all day. And when they're not watching TV, they're playing games. And when they're not playing games, they're on Facebook. And when they're not on Facebook, they're doing texts. So when you've been indoctrinated into that vacuum, now coming out of it to have an interactively social conversation is like, huh? Let me text you.
Yeah.
And we're sitting at the same table.
Right.
And you're going to text me what you want to say because the thing is, it's safe for me to text you because I don't have to worry about your response. I don't have to accept the responsibility of your reaction to what I said because it is what it is. Because I said it, I'm in a safe place because you can't see me and I can't see you and you can't retaliate. So I'm going to continue to operate in this segregated, socialistic tunnel.
Isolation.
That only encompasses me. And it's all about me. Everything is about I. And as long as I keep you in the mindset of I, unity is never a possibility. Never.
So what is a solution? Let's talk about solutions to facilitate. Say we've got people watching today, and I pray you're watching and listening carefully because this is revolutionary information. And they recognize, you know what? I really am that person they're talking about. I do not know how to engage others in any form of intimacy because I myself, hypothetically, they're saying, have not learned how to communicate to myself.
Well, you know, one of the things that I say, and the Bible says, let thy light shine.
Yes.
So if we're going to be a shining light, we have to be the example of interaction. We have to be the constant presentation of interaction.
Okay.
If our presence is always an interactive presence, if we're not standoffish with each other and we're interactive, we're comfortable,
yeah.
and we're intertwined and still exhibiting all of the appropriacies, honoring our relationships separately because I'm married, you may be in a relationship, but when we're together, we're still having that social intimate
right.
interaction. Why? Because we're still dealing with intimate issues, intimate subject matter. But we don't do it to the point where we're looking forward to crossing the line and doing something different. When we show forth that example of how it is to be appropriate,
Okay.
when we become a more visible example of appropriacy, people will connect with the fact that there is another way of doing this and we don't have the appropriate borders established. And if you don't put the borders up and separate those things and say, okay, this physical intimacy is separate from
Right.
socialistic intimacy. And if we don't separate the two and we keep trying to associatively group them together,
A
we're
mess.
setting ourselves up for
A
dysfunction.
mess.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
Mess, a mess.
All
a
that.
mess,
Disaster,
a mess,
all
a
that.
mess. A mess. Because as I shared with you before we did this broadcast, the biggest mistake that an individual can make, I mean trumping everything, is to be so hungry for physical intimacy that they violate because they don't have an understanding. They don't understand what happens when a man and a woman join. The Bible says they become one. It's major. That's not something you want to do.
Well, it's not something that you want to do, but the thing is, everything has been reduced
I got it.
to that.
To an
It's been-
act.
exactly.
To an act.
Exactly,
But
because
there
it's all
are
about,
consequences.
they don't think about consequences. Why? Because it's all about the presentation.
Got it. Ooh wee. So he looks good.
He looks good. I look
She
good.
look good.
We should be good because
we
he looks
should be
good.
good.
Exactly.
Right.
Everything should be good because he looks good until you get in and find out
Oh my God.
there ain't no air conditioning. You got to roll the windows
the
down.
car,
There's
the
no
car,
power
the
steering.
car.
And the thing
The
is,
car is messed up.
exactly. And the thing is, we don't recognize it's messed
The
up.
car is messed up.
We don't recognize it's messed up until we've come together.
That's the wrong time.
Exactly.
You should have got that worked out when you were interactively.
But society promotes us to come together first and work out the problems later, as opposed to working out the problems to come
and
together.
then to come together.
So that's what they're
Yes.
being taught. And when we start showing forth a greater example of working out the problems and then coming
First.
together,
And it
working
can
out
be
the
it
problems,
can be difficult.
it's going to be
It's
difficult.
I can't see any other way for it to be, because if you're dealing with a large population base that has been basically brainwashed to behave in a certain manner, and then here you come on the scene, you know, this little light of mine, you know, I'm gonna let it shine. And they're like, no, not me. That's too dangerous. Too dangerous for them.
Right.
So how does one move into that realm of intimacy, which is transparency, right?
Yeah, but see, the thing about that, we have to understand that the prodigal son experience
Yes.
is true across the board. And wherever they are, and whatever it is they're doing, they are going to reach a point where they get tired of being tired. They're going to reach a point where they're going to recognize this ain't working. They're going to reach a point to say, there's got to be a better way. And when we have formulated the example of the better way,
Then
when
they
we're a
can come.
functioning aspect of the better way, now they will gravitate to the better way. But we're going to solve the problem by, first of all, solving the problem. We solve the problem between you and I, and we're going to solve the problem abroad because we solved the problem between you and I.
Right.
And being the example of the resolved issue and that light shining from the resolve, the pleasure, the joy, they're always smiling and they're always happy. They're always, and I don't see them, and they don't, and when they start recognizing that there is another side, there is a better way, they will gravitate to it. It's not for us to take it to them. It's for us to establish it. It's like the field of dreams.
Yes. If
You
we
build it,
they will
come.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And then to talk about, I shouldn't say it like that because marriage is truly a holy and sacred covenant between a man and a woman. but the whole concept of crossing into marriage based upon a presentation without consideration of the functional parts inside. Does it have air conditioning? Does it have...
Do I have to roll the windows down?
Do I have to roll the windows down? Will it start in the winter? All those things that need to be explored, that are part of that interactive intimacy that all of us must embrace. It's not just married. Every human on earth has to be willing to cross into that dimension of really engaging other people in communication.
That's what we're created for.
Not conversation.
That's what we're created for.
But it's like Jesus talking to the woman at the well. That was communication. When you start telling a person, yeah, you've been married 5 times and the man you're with right now
ain't yours.
Ain't yours. I'm like, woo-wee! She was like, oh no. She got it. Because he pierced right through that and dealt with, because the scripture doesn't tell us all they talked about, but you know it got deep. It got deep. It got so deep, she declared who he was.
Absolutely.
Which is how you know all my business, how you know my heart. And I know that he dealt with that issue, her heart. So the takeaway from today's show is intimacy is the beginning of relationship. And God is most concerned about us having intimacy so that we can foster genuine and true relationship.
Absolutely.
Which is not a conversation, it is a communication.
Absolutely.
And viewers, it's definitely got challenges, but to not have it is to set yourself up for something really, really bad. Bad. I'm talking about heart destructive. The heart does bleed, and repeated heartaches cause physical problems, including heart attacks, strokes, you name it. That is a broken heart. The heart can weep and does weep because you have exposed it to the unthinkable and the unspeakable. So the challenge, the takeaway is that if you're one of those people that's still in a conversation because you're fearful of communication, the outcome is very predictable. You are going to have your epiphany. You are going to reach a point where you realize that you are really miserable and empty because, as Elder Dennis said, God did not create us to be people that are just transitory. We are to be engaged in communication. Appreciate you all being a part of my first segment of intimacy and relationships and marriage with Elder Dennis Hatchett of Embrace Ministries. And we will be coming back to do part 2, where we will talk now about relationships and marriage. And that, again, is going to be an awesome show. Hope you've had a great experience with us today, and look forward to getting right back with you for part 2. I'm Michelle Graves, CEO of The Power of Money, executive producer, and I wish you love, peace, and joy today. You take care. Be blessed.